Combined Locks is kind of a suburb or bedroom community of Appleton. At the time, a lot of the residents kind of formed or moved into that village because they were kind of the employees of the paper mill.
The formation of credit unions in Wisconsin occurred in the early 20s, but credit unions really had a sizable level of growth coming out of the Depression.
In 1937, there were approximately 16 or 18 individuals that worked at the Combined Locks paper mill that decided it was worthwhile to form a credit union.
It started in a little room down in the mill at Appleton Coated in Combined Locks.
The mill itself just dedicated space to the Combined Locks Credit Union. So it was a real small office.
And it was started by 3 men who collected money from other workers in order to give out the money in the form of a loan.
Anytime during the day while you're working, you would go down to this little office that they had and visit these people and do your financial work.
At that time, you had to be a mill member. If you got a loan, they had to know you. And it was basically a handshake.
It was kind of a one-man operation. Treasurer at that time had a checkbook in his pocket that he wrote the checkouts.
It was done on little pads, notebooks, whatever, kept in the shirt pocket of the treasurer, who would then walk around at the mill, and if you wanted to do a transaction, you did it with that person.
Very humble beginnings.
From 1937 to 1974, that's when they hit $1 million in assets. That was a pretty big milestone.
Back in the day, before direct deposit, workers would come to the location to get their paychecks.
The mill people would get their paychecks and line up in our lobby, and we would hand them the paper check. They would tell us their mill number, and we would hand them their check.
They would come, and there weren't computers, so everything had to be handwritten. So it was busy, like they were slammed on payday.
Lines would be out the door. It was so interesting.
And so as soon as everybody was gone, they would open their drawer and they'd all mix themselves an old-fashioned. And I thought, oh my God, that's the cutest story.
Now you think, no one has a paper check anymore.
From 1974 to 1980, it had actually grown from $1 million to $3 million. At that time, the credit union had just become a community credit union.
We were outgrowing our facility. The only way to expand at that time was to have a brick and mortar building.
As they grew and grew, an office was built in Combined Locks down near the mill.
When we moved up, it created a new building on the edge of the property of the mill.
With all the people that worked in the mill, it was a little bit of a sore spot in the beginning because they really liked having it on site, but I think everybody understood that couldn't last forever.
They had opened up the membership eligibility to the village of Combined Locks, and then that's actually when I started.
I was part of the hiring team, the search team that brought in Greg Hilbert. When we did the interview of the other people that were there, we were very impressed with Greg.
His personality, the answers to the questions, the openness. He was eager to do something with the credit union.
I felt he was very humble. He was assertive but not overbearing. His whole mannerism, his whole attitude, we really felt very comfortable with. We made the decision to go forward.
December of 1980, I was hired to take over for Fran Bierstecker. I became the leader, the president and CEO of Combined Locks Credit Union.
He didn't start as a teller. He started as the CEO at age 24 years old.
When I first started, there were 3 other employees, and so there was a total of 4, the staff.
The 3 people that started with him, Bernice McCormick, Sylvia Johnson, and Ann Foyt.
Greg came in. He had actual experience in the credit union industry already. We really needed to go to his expertise because some of us on the board didn't have the same knowledge base.
Greg and I and some others, we all became CEOs at about the same time. There was an opportunity that new blood being able to come in with the willingness to say, we need to try something different, we need to do some different things here.
His leadership was really quite outstanding, worked with everybody well.
When I first started, the Combined Electric Credit Union did not offer home loans, mortgage loans. I had been doing that already for a period of time, and so being able to bring that as a service to the organization was exciting.
He was a go-getter, somebody that looked to the future for the betterment of the credit union.
Once we had hired Greg, then we could see a lot of positive aspects of helping our members. These are salt of the earth people. They wanted what was best for the whole organization and the members.
Greg was picking out the right people. I don't know if he ever had a miss.
Greg's a measured, deliberate person. He follows through on everything. He analyzes and vets things.
He's very meticulous and making sure that the right decisions are being made. He's not one to need to jump into a decision.
He's excellent at his job. Greg was a good guy to work with, and he always respected the board. Good boss.
In 1985, the Schmidt Oil Employees Credit Union actually partnered with us, Fox Communities, at that time still Combined Locks. That was a pretty big milestone for us. It was the first time we partnered, merged essentially, with another credit union.
I was working for a local company called Schmidt Oil Company, which is now U.S. Venture, and we had our own little credit union there, which didn't make any sense. We decided we should talk to a local credit union and get rid of this, and we call it Combined Locks.
It allowed a little more economy of scale, but it also allowed us then to bring new services to those members.
He recognized all along that he was working for a member-owned organization.
Partnering with other organizations brought other individuals, great employees who understood what a credit union stood for and meant to people.
But I'm on the board way back when we were a credit union for the people who worked at the mill. And back then, they had strikes and layoffs and being our primary members. I remember Greg really having a concern, a legitimate concern of how are we going to get these people past their tough times right now. So I just remember that being his driving factor.
The whole mission of the organization is about helping others to help make their financial lives better. And that is it becomes the driving force.
The decision to change names and all this was kind of a challenge because that's, the whole branding.
Now we were having a location in Appleton. It was felt that the Combined Locks Credit Union name might be confusing.
Because of our growth, we were feeling as though we needed a name that would encompass all the areas.
We couldn't be Locks Mill anymore, and everybody came up with several names.
It started out as Fox Cities Credit Union, but we were not Fox Cities.
Nova, number one, Valley Associate.
One was Fox Heritage, and one was Fox Communities Credit Union.
Betty came up with Fox Communities.
It was a difficult decision what to take, what kind of a name to take.
We had a little contest. We asked members to help us to select a new name.
They did sort of a survey, and people definitely warmed up to the community's name much better. So that was really part of why we went in that direction.
Ultimately, the board chose Fox Communities Credit Union.
This was the best. Fox Communities was definitely the very best choice.
As our credit union grew, it became more and more clear to me that growth and increasing our economy of scale is important.
We had merged with quite a few credit unions. The office that they had over there, the Combined Locks company needed it. So it was time to look for a building to service people in that area.
I was on the Building and Grounds Committee when we decided to build a new corporate office. You had to decide everything, floors, architecture. And one day after we got the approval to build a credit union, Greg and I and two of the other board members went out to eat. We started talking about who we were going to hire for the architect. When we got done eating, we were kind of pumped up. We decided to take a ride and see if we could find some kind of brick that we wanted for this particular credit union.
We're kind of touring some of the other financial institutions to see how they're laid out, look at the drive-ups.
And the more we did this, darker it got. And Greg says, well, I got some flashlights in the car. So pretty soon we're looking through the window with a camera, with flashlights, taking notes, and we went to Little Chute, Kaukauna, Kimberly, and then it's about 9 o'clock. And we're driving to pick up our cars in Appleton. A squad car comes beaming down the street.
We got pulled over. And I think I had a headlight out or something.
They pull right in front of us. And they stop. And we're thinking, what's going on? Cop comes up to the car, knocks on the window. Greg rolls her down. He says, officer, what's the issue? Cop says, are you guys casing banks? Somebody reported us as casing banks. And none of us ever thought that just because we're peeking on every window and bank from Neenah to Appleton and beyond, that we'd be picked up for that. But we had a good laugh about it. In fact, it was really funny.
An interesting evening, that's for sure.
In between all the buildings, of course, we were joining other credit unions.
I joined our Appleton Teachers Credit Union early on in my career. At the time we were considering merging, it was growing. We couldn't handle it anymore.
These smaller credit unions were not in a position to loan much money.
It's very difficult for them on a long-term basis to keep up with the regulatory requirements as well as the needs of their members because they don't have the resources to keep up with, in particular, technology.
So as board members, we listened to presentations from Greg Gilbert and from the people at Community First.
We felt we had the expertise and the ability and capable people and good people to help move into that direction.
We really felt that Fox Communities was the one to meet our needs.
When you sell a product, sell a business, one of the intangible assets that you sell is goodwill. Greg has that goodwill, and he works with the people.
It was warm and friendly and homey, regular people to deal with, not huge, and we would just be a drop in the bucket.
1990, we were small. I was with Riverside Credit Union, and there was maybe only a handful of employees, maybe 8 to 10 employees.
Our members were looking for an office on the south side of town. We couldn't afford to do that on our own. So it became a natural thing to look for a merger partner as it presented itself.
Greg is so good with talking to other credit unions and finding an opportunity.
Our boards came together and there was a commonality, and we were both in it for the same thing. Neither one of us was in it for ourselves. We're just in it for our members.
When we merge, we try and keep that heartfelt relationship that people have with their financial. That's a big drive.
The triumvirate at that time was Greg, Bruce, and then Don.
I had worked for Community First Credit Union, a competitor, for 18 years prior to 1991. I wasn't sure that banking was something that I wanted to do the rest of my career. Once I came on board with Greg and found out what kind of culture he ran, what kind of operation he ran, I knew that I could be very, very happy the rest of my career in the financial business.
Each step, more credit unions, more responsibilities, bigger jobs.
The decisions that they made back then really set the foundation for what the credit union is today. They took chances. It's not like it was easy to do, but they took calculated risks, and it just made sense.
We grew by making a lot of the right decisions internally through mergers and acquisitions.
Many of our large credit unions in Wisconsin have grown because they have come to either merge in or to the aid of a smaller credit union.
The growth was in acquiring members and facilities, making each new credit union feel comfortable with us.
I don't remember one employee coming over from those other credit unions without ever feeling very welcome. I don't remember one employee ever being asked to leave or being laid off.
He is so respectful of all the staff that works at other credit unions. They all have jobs here.
When he talks to people about partnerships, he doesn't approach them, let's merge. Just let's have a partnership. Let's see what we can do together.
That reputation got around the state, and when a credit union had to merge or be acquired, it was just well known on the street that this was the organization that would be a good partnership.
Fox Community's reputation in the credit union industry is so prominent, primarily due to Greg and his relationship building with other CEOs at other credit unions and his desire to serve our members.
This credit union did not grow for the sake of growth. They felt they had something to offer, and the people responded to it.
Credit unions have bylaws that you can't expand beyond your vicinity. The only way to expand at that time was to have a brick and mortar building in your town.
It's called a field of membership. Credit unions by law have to serve only people within their field of membership. For some credit unions, that means employees of a business. For some credit unions, that means maybe a member of a parish or of a church. For many of our Wisconsin credit unions, that typically means a community or one or more counties.
We knew we had to keep getting bigger. With the regulation coming down and all that, you couldn't survive just being a $40, $50 million credit union anymore.
We had to move and grow.
I met Greg in 1996. I heard he was looking to build and expand. I called on Greg as an employee of a general contractor to see if we could build some buildings for him. And during our conversations, he had told me that, I'm set in my building and I have my architect and a builder. I'm very set, and because of our conversations, he knew I was wanting to open my own commercial real estate company. And he said, if you get in the commercial real estate, why don't you come back and talk to me? Several months later, I opened Drifter Group, and Greg was one of the first people I talked to.
When we built the credit union on Calumet Street, well, that was going to be the main office.
One of the first projects I did with Fox Communities was their main office site. Greg would go and say, we bought so-and-so, and we have 4 locations, let's go take a ride.
Building locations and branches, especially in the earlier days, we're looking at a lot of things. We're looking at the community, we're looking at the level of credit union service in an area.
He would say, monitor all the areas. Try to get something here, something there.
We look for good locations that are convenient, that are visible. We look for the long-term viability of the location.
Greg was always very professional and knew what he wanted to do. He always looked at the big picture.
You have to be able to kind of see around corners. It isn't just looking at what's right in front of you. A lot of times you got to be 6 or 9 months out ahead of what's happening.
Knows what he wants. Never operated on the cuff, on the fly. Everything was well thought out.
He thoroughly thinks through things, and everything that he's done for the credit union with mergers, with the ground rules that he's given us, I think that's where a lot of the growth comes from.
The biggest thing about Fox Communities is, yes, we've grown, but I think it's really about the communities that we serve. We've grown to help people in their communities.
It's not just innovation. It's not just being in the right communities. It's taking care of people along the way.
They've done a great job getting into the community and being a part of the community and the events that they do.
We do fundraisers. We give our employees volunteer time off.
They're supportive of the local school systems. They're supportive of the local charities.
We recognize that part of our obligation is to give back not only to our members, but to our communities.
We truly are not just a financial institution. We are an organization that care about our members and our community.
They really have become the fixture and the entity you turn to, not only for financial needs, but also for the greater community needs.
We want to be the best financial institution to be able to help our members and the community.
Supporting those events that our members partake in just helps make it a better place for all of us.
They understand to build the community, you have to work with the community, and I think they do a phenomenal job at it.
Those communities that we're in, they're rich in family, rich in tradition, and if we can bring events to their community to do stuff as families, it's pretty cool that the credit union can give back in those areas.
We've always had financial strength in mind, and we've always had a financially strong credit union.
The growth was through vision, knowledge of credit unions in general, through leadership.
The person at the top is the one who sets the agenda. They set the tone, the culture.
We have these 5 core principles.
The Fox 5 commitments, those are principles that we have internally to kind of live by, to work by. So it's commitment to staff, education, own the request, commitment to our community, and our 5th Fox 5 commitments is to our members.
Take care of the member. It didn't matter if the person had $5 in an account looking to borrow $100, or if the person had a 6-figure depository relationship. The golden rule, as far as Greg Hubble was concerned, you take care of the member.
When you have someone like Greg leading the charge, and he leads by such a great example, you follow that example.
I can't think of anybody that ever worked here who did not really care about their members. And that goes from the teller line to the consumer loan officers to all the people who do deposit items and IRAs.
Don called me up one day and he said, "Hey, we'd like to refinance your loan at this rate and we can do it tomorrow." He said, "Okay, what's the catch? How much?" And he said, "No catch, no catch. We want you here."
That's a big gift, having employees be in positions where they can have positive impact on things around them.
We care about our members and our staff and each other, because that's really who we are.
They will be there for you when you call them. They know the answer if you have a question. They're not only professional, but they're friendly, and that you can trust them. It's just a great place.
People that we have as part of that team, they care. And if you care about others, the growth and the financial strength tends to come along.
I just think back to when we were $45 million in assets, and who'd have ever dreamed we'd have been at the size we are now and with the many branches as we are.
Wow. Wow. It was Combined Locks and Appleton. That's all there was.
This little bitty town of Combined Locks, to have such endurance and grow such a big connection with so many people. It's just unbelievable.
When the credit union started, 3 members, now up to over 105,000 members. That truly is a tremendous accomplishment, but probably more so, they did it the right way.
They started with a good foundation. They kept their intentions very clear and basic.
And it's not about the loans and the checking accounts and the credit cards. It's much more than that. We want to make that positive difference in people's lives. We want to make these communities strong.
Fox Communities is a great example of the strength of Wisconsin credit unions. It is well run, it is serving the community, and it has employees who believe in what a credit union is.
Sometimes organizations can get big and it's like the heart comes out of it. And I feel like at Fox, our hearts are still in it.
We drive the credit union forward from the heart. Yes, there's pen and paper, we've got to have the financial decisions and the numbers right. But if we build our business, build our organization from the heart, and let that be our guide, we'll be successful going forward.